What's going on, guys? Roy Robles here from Zigwheels.Ph, and Volkswagen Philippines is marketing the Volkswagen Santana as your today car. Why dream of a European car in the future when you can have one right now? And I'm sure that the Volkswagen Santana does not have the same cachet as the Polo or the Golf, or let alone the GTI. But being a world car certainly does have its advantages. For one, it's more affordable, and yes, you can have this for a little less than 1 million pesos. The question is the Volkswagen Santana every little bit of Volkswagen, or is it just a pretender? We're gonna take a look at the Volkswagen Santana, take it for a drive, take a look around and see if it is your next or your first European car. Now, the Volkswagen Santana's posters won't be filling any adolescent's wall. I mean, just take a look at it. It's remarkable because of its unremarkableness, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. In the front end, you'd be noticing its boxy proportions. You know, halogen headlamps are the order of the day, and they flank this uniform-looking chrome strip of a grille right down there. And of course, you got your lower grille at the bottom. Now, one quirk about the Volkswagen Santana would be those fog lamps. You would think that they are fog lamps, and sure, they do look like fog lamps, but a quirk would be they're actually directional headlamps. If you turn your steering wheel to the left light opens. If you turn it to the right light turns on. So I usually would like boxy proportions in my sedans, but this is a bit taking it too far. But remember, Volkswagen's design language is really about those boxy proportions. The GTI, the Golf, even the Polo. I mean, they really want to hammer through that utilitarian look. I mean, these guys are Germans. But one thing that really makes it, you know, even more interesting, at least for the bonnet here, you got this little hint of power bulge when it comes to the hood, but that's the only bit of character that I see in the front end of the Volkswagen Santana. And the pity party continues in the side profile. I mean, just talk about how bland it is and how normal it looks like is quite the understatement, so to speak. The only thing that breaks the monotony has got to be that character line that moves across the length of the Volkswagen Santana. It starts off from the headlamps all the way to the tail lamps. It also has those dinky little 15-inchers that they call mags on the top of the line model. I mean, in an age where the 16s are the new 15s, those look a little bit too small for my taste. But at least it has high-profile tires that add more to the comfort and NVH levels on the insides. You also have repeater signals on the side mirrors there. And apart from that, yeah, you won't be doing double takes with the Volkswagen Santana, especially on the side profile. Let's take a look at that rear end. One saving grace that the Volkswagen Santana does have is that rear end. Look at that interesting looking tail lamp cluster right there that mimics LEDs, although they're not LEDs, but at least gives it a bit more flair to the accommodations. We also have rear reflectors right at the bottom here, and yeah, it definitely looks good. And the best part is it has this interesting feature where you can open the rear hatch just like that with your key fob. So giving you all this space for all your luggage. I wasn't able to figure out exactly what the dimensions are inside or how many liters it can take in, but in real life situations, I was able to fit in 12. That's right, guys, 12 water jugs. You know those water jugs that are slim with the faucets in them, the blue ones? They can fit 12 in right here. Fortunately, there isn't any 60-40 split feature to fit in taller items, but when it comes to subcompact sedans, that's just par for the course. So let's go ahead and take a look at the inside and see if it still feels like a German car in the interior. So all right, we're now inside the Volkswagen Santana. I'm not gonna pretend that I'm gonna walk into the car, because as you can see, it's raining really hard right now. But with how normal and how mundane the Volkswagen Santana is on the outside, Volkswagen has more than made up for it on the inside. Sure, it has hard plastics everywhere on the dashboard, the door panels, the shifter column. You can't escape the wrath of black and plastic. Actually, it's gray and plastic. It's got that reflective strip at the middle that breaks the monotony there. And oh my goodness, the way the dash is molded, it looks really nice. Volkswagen's definitely carried over their existing design language of simplicity and utilitarianism in the Volkswagen Santana right here. Now, a few things to note. You got your 7-inch touchscreen right here that does not have Android Auto, at least that I know of. Once I put in my phone right there, it doesn't detect it, nor there are any prompts for me to select Android Auto in this menu system there, so no dice. It doesn't even have Apple CarPlay, but it has 6 speakers to work with, so just connect your phone via Bluetooth and you should be fine. It also has an option. Volkswagen Philippines also gives you the option to opt for a Punkt sound system that does have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but on the existing stock one, you're not good to go. You also have manual air conditioning right here, and take a look at this. It says clean air. Clean air. In our current situation during the pandemic, that's something very important, especially if you want to own a nice vehicle, an affordable sedan out there, especially during the rainy season, the pandemic season. You want to have this feature right here, clean air. I mean, all other cars does have cabin filters in it, but it's nice to know that Volkswagen Philippines is reminding you that when you're in a Volkswagen and the Volkswagen Santana, you're breathing in clean air from the outside. You have a nice shifter column right here. Doesn't have any manual modes to speak of, but I'll tell you more in the driving section later on how that works out. And you have this nice small center armrest in the middle that folds up, weirdly enough, folds up and folds down, all the way down, but you can adjust it to your liking right here. But the problem with that is that it's hard for me to reach the manual handbrake when I reach down right there. So it's kind of a hassle for me to always put it up right there and then pull the handbrake, as you can see, then put it back down. I think the implementation of that could be a lot more seamless and a lot more driver friendly in the future. Let's head over to the steering wheel. The steering wheel is pure polyurethane, which is a nice way of saying plastic, but it's nicely designed. The grips are really chunky here, and it has that classic Volkswagen vibe that I'm really actually a fan of. To be honest, I actually like Volkswagen's interiors in general. I might not like the boxy proportions it has on the exterior for all their cars, but when it comes to the inside, hands off. I can't really say anything about how it looks definitely on the inside. The steering wheel is a flat bottom one. It does have your media controls right here, as well as controls for you to change the dials or the information on the center screen on the gauges. Speaking of those gauges, again, it has that classic Volkswagen look. You got your 2 analog gauges on each side, and in the middle, your multi-information display that shows the temperature, the ambient temperature, your water temperature, your speed limit, of course your current speed, your average fuel economy, your range, and your current fuel economy, as well as, get this guy, it's got a clock right there. Very helpful. I like having a clock in my cars. Now, for the uninitiated, where you're used to driving around in Japanese or American cars, you'd find the left stalk to have the controls for your lights. Now, you won't be finding any light controls except for the high beams on the left stalk and the cruise control buttons. You have to use this dial at the left side of the dashboard right here. Definitely signals that this is a European car, and it's unapologetic with being a European car. Speaking of safety features, you got 4 airbags, 2 in the front, 2 in the side, ABS with electronic brake force distribution. You also have traction control. Traction control is very helpful, especially for driving in slippery conditions like today. Definitely helped me out a lot today in terms of safety. You definitely need that traction control right there. It also has hill start assist to help you out when you're moving forward in traffic or starting off on a hill right there. Now, one thing that's definitely missing is a reverse camera. Now, instead of having a reverse camera, you have rear parking sensors that alert you whenever you're near a wall or near an obstacle right there. It is helpful, but I would probably appreciate if Volkswagen gave this rear cameras. How hard can it be? You already have a 7-inch right there. Now, overall, the interior of the Volkswagen Santana is really good looking. It looks a lot better than the current crop of subcompact sedans out there, and I'd say, yeah, I would definitely see myself driving this. Now, Volkswagen's ingenious implementation of the interior definitely carries over to the rear section right here. Now, even though I'm sitting behind my own driving position, which is more laid back, I still have a lot of leg room and space enough for my feet to jostle around right here, no problems, and headroom. And look at this, even though the roof has this sort of divot in the middle right here, the ceiling has a divot, obviously to make room for the sunroof right there, I still have enough headroom for me to move around, no problems. It won't ruin any of my hairstyles right here. And we also have our own dome light in the rear. You don't see this often whenever you talk about subcompact sedans. Usually you have just the one dome light, or you won't have any dome lights at all because you already have a sunroof. But Volkswagen was kind enough to give the rear passengers their own dome light for you to read your own books probably, or look for your own stuff. And I think that is a small design detail that Volkswagen has just went ahead and gave it to us. Sometimes the devil is in the details, and I really appreciate that small light right there. You also have your grab handles here, and you also have your own padded armrest for the middle passenger. One thing that I would probably wish that this car would have is a folding center armrest for you to put your cup holders here. But again, it doesn't have 60/40 split, so I guess having that out of the equation would mean that you will lose the center armrest. And I lament the fact that there aren't any USB ports or any rear aircon vents to speak of, but at least it's a comfortable place to be in. I see three of myself sitting abreast in the rear, no problems. But yeah, so like I said, although I was pretty disappointed with how the exterior looks, Volkswagen definitely made up for it, more than made up for it, with how the interior definitely is laid out for us. You know what, let's take it for a spin. Let's see if Volkswagen gave it another win in the driving dynamics. Let's go. So here we are, we're driving off in the Volkswagen Santana. This is the 180 MPI, or multi-point injection. It has the 1.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, and it makes 108 horsepower and 150 Newton meters of torque. Now, it also runs with a 6-speed automatic. What that does is that it gives you great acceleration, even though this is just a 1.5 liter. Usually cars in this segment aren't great when it comes to acceleration or off-the-line acceleration, but thanks to that 6-speed automatic, power is definitely on tap whenever you need it. One thing about driving this though is that it has that safety feature, or that fuel-saving feature, the automatic start-stop. It's pretty jarring if you ask me, and the transition between starting off or heading off and then shutting down isn't as seamless as I want it to be. So my deal would be to shut it off entirely and just rely on your own gut right here. I don't like it. That's basically it. They call that blue motion technology. Although I appreciate Volkswagen putting it in one of their entry-level cars, but it's not for me. What is for me though is this acceleration and the NVH levels on this subcompact sedan. Even though it has a smaller wheelbase, and it definitely is one of the better performing cars when it comes to noise, vibration, and harshness. Now, up front, you have your independent suspension, your McPherson struts, and in the rear, they call it semi-independent. But it's basically just a torsion beam suspension in the rear. Now, usually what that does is that it gives you normal type of drive. I mean, almost all subcompact sedans have that. But the thing, I'm not sure why it feels a lot different when it comes to the Volkswagen Santana. Whenever you drive, I guess a lot of that has got to do with the steering feel here. The steering is precise, which is not something that I say for all subcompact sedans out there. The steering is precise and direct. It basically feels like a German car. It feels like a Volkswagen. A lot of people have been harping on the Volkswagen Santana for not being, the Volkswagen people want. But I feel that the Volkswagen Santana is the Volkswagen people need, especially with the fuel economy. Now, I know it's pandemic, and there isn't supposed to be a lot of cars on the road now, but the traffic situation in Manila is just horrible. It doesn't feel like a lockdown at all. It doesn't feel like there's a quarantine going on. But with a fuel economy of around 9 kilometers per liter in the city, and on the highway around 14 kilometers per liter. That's not bad. That's CVT levels and 1.3 liter displacement levels of fuel efficiency. And you get that in the Santana. I've prejudged the Santana prematurely just because of how it looks. But after driving it this way, especially in this inclement weather, I feel that the Volkswagen Santana is more than just a cheap entry-level point for the Volkswagen brand. It's a legitimate contender. Do I see myself driving the Santana? Do I see myself owning one? Yeah, I could probably say yes. But if I'm looking for a car that drives great, has great fuel economy, and again, is a legitimate European car, good, yeah. The Volkswagen Santana is definitely on my list and should be on yours too. Pricing for the Volkswagen Santana starts at 686,000 pesos for the entry-level model with a 1.4 liter naturally aspirated engine and a manual transmission. Now, if you want to go for the automatic, you'll have to spend a lot more for that, but then you move up to the 1.5 liter with a 6-speed automatic transmission, and that's going to go for 898,000 pesos. Now, this top-of-the-line model with the aforementioned features, including the safety features, the sunroof, the speakers, and all that. Now, this is going to cost you 962,000 pesos. Now, competition for the Volkswagen Santana would be the best-selling Toyota Vios. Of course, you got your Korean twins, the Kia Soluto and Hyundai Reina. You also have the more expensive Honda City and the Mazda 2, as well as newcomers like the MG5 and the Chang'an Alpine. But none of those cars can give you the same kind of level of refinement and of course the brand recognition and cachet that Volkswagen can offer. So there you have it, folks. So for me, it definitely is quite an ugly duckling, but it is highly capable. What do you think? Leave us a comment in the comment section down below if you think this might be your first European car. So thanks so much for watching. Leave us a like if you do love our videos, and make sure that you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification icon so that you're alerted whenever we upload a new video. Again, it's Roy Robles from Zigwheels.Ph, and I'll see you guys next time.